And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports podcast, and I am here, as per usual, to cover the Rowdies on this unusual Wednesday night. Carlos, how are you doing now on a Wednesday evening, a day after that we would usually be recording?
James, I'm doing well. Everybody back home looks like they're doing well. Obviously, we've had a bit of a scare with the hurricane situation. 6:05 p.m. on this Wednesday evening, August 30th, and it looks like most of the damage that will be done has been done. Seems like it's gotten out of Florida at this point. We just send our best wishes and prayers to everybody in South Georgia and that coastal part of the Carolinas. It's also getting some of it. So just a crazy situation, James, how quickly something like this can develop and, envelope in all of our lives, even me all the way over here, not anywhere in Tampa. But obviously the family's all good. Everybody's safe. And, we're here to talk about a fun result, I guess something a bit more interesting and a bit more positive, than the hurricane situation. So I'm excited to talk about that, James. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I do want to take a moment to say we had a great watch party for this game this past Saturday night, again at Berry House. If you weren't there, I would say you missed out, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for one in the future. This was a winning game, obviously, as opposed to the last time we had one, which was 0-0, but we still had a great crowd on hand for that one. Either way, yeah, this one was really fun. I think that we had it was kind of interesting because when Eureka and I were doing the pregame show, I don't know how many people did get to catch that, but when we were doing that, there was a period there where there were very few people in the bar, and they were all sitting literally at the bar behind us. Because apparently there was a man outside who had a pet squirrel that was attached to him, and he was kind of holding court outside, and he was just talking to everybody about what happened with the squirrel. Then, like 20, 30 minutes into it, whatever it was, Eureka and I are still talking, and then everybody comes inside, and it was very loud at that moment. So we had to start, talking right back into the microphone and everything. But it was just funny to see how it all played out. And then when we got to the game itself, obviously, it was a great result. So that kind of kept everyone's spirits up. But yeah, it was a good time, and I will implore you, like always, to join us at the next one. When we have the full details on that, we will let you know. But Carlos, let's get into everything that happened this past weekend. On Saturday night, the Rowdies went away, obviously, to the Miami FC and won 2-0. So fantastic result there. We did host that watch party, and like I said, thank you to everyone who came. It was a great time, and you all helped make it that way. Hopefully you can join us again in the future. Carlos, you got full points for your prediction on this past round. Everyone did predict a win, but you got the full 3 points, so well done there. And that puts everyone other than me on 19 points. The guest spot, Eureka, and Carlos are all on 19. I am lagging behind on 16. So I'm going to have to step up my game here. We have another game to preview with the Rowdies hosting this week, Hartford Athletic. I put in our notes, we hope. I think, like you said, with the hurricane having passed, there should be no problem with that now. So, I think that we're just going to go ahead and preview that game like we normally would. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube and all major podcast platforms. Wherever you are, we are too. And of course, please follow RBLR Sports at RBLR Sports on all social media, wherever you are, such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, we are there as well. Now, Carlos, let's get into the game, actually talk about how that went. Please get us started on the quick recap here.
James, like you said, your Tampa Bay Rowdies went down to South Florida and took on the Miami FC. Again, to be clear, the messy-less Miami soccer team went down to Ricardo Silva Stadium and played in front of a raucous crowd of maybe 20 people. Plenty of noise from the Rowdies section, though. Good traveling contingent from Ralph's mob and the other Rowdies fans. Loved to see that on the broadcast. They got to see a show for sure. The Rowdies came out strong with a lineup that didn't change too much. Connor Sparrow in goal, Antley, Kleeman, Lasso, and Guillen kind of making up sort of back four situation there as per usual now. Joshua Perez made his first official start as your Tampa Bay as a Tampa Bay Rowdies. That was kind of cool to see. Unique circumstances though that I'll mention in a second. With Charlie Dennis, Jordan Doherty, and LaCava making up the rest of that sort of midfield unit. Yeah, and then you had LaCava, JJ Williams, and Cal Jennings kind of as your main attacking unit. But again, it was a lot of fluidity, I would say, in the attacking part of this unit, James. It seemed like there was a bit of movement. Obviously, again, Perez getting his first start. We literally only had 4 substitutes, 4, including Phil Moreno. So we had 3, outfield players. 2 of them were strikers, and then Dayon Harris as well. It was Lucky Amkosan, Ariel Martinez, and Dayon Harris, who, obviously all got on the field at some point. Such a limited bench, you'd have to get them all in at some point, it seems like. Despite all of that, despite the last-minute injuries and last-minute sickness, I believe it was Jan Ekra who picked up some sort of illness before the game. The Rowdies still came out and put up a great performance, scored once in the first half, came out very strong, by the way, James, as you might recall. Absolute, banger of a shot, like 2 minutes in. And I'm forgetting who. Oh my God, why am I forgetting that? It's not in my notes. Anyway, we came out strong, played well, eventually scored the first goal in the 36th minute. It was Cal Jennings. Go into halftime up 1-0. We'd end the game with a 2-0 result. The second goal would be a Charlie Dennis penalty earned by a Jake LaCava run into the box. He got tripped up in the box and eventually would earn that penalty. Interestingly enough, Jordan Doherty had like a shot right after that penalty was called. Looked like it would have been a banger of a goal. It looked like it would have counted. Everything looked clean. Keeper definitely wouldn't have gotten to it. So it would have been nice to see Jordan Doherty on the score sheet, but whatever. Charlie Dennis got onto the penalty spot and buried that as well. Rowdies won 2-0. Again, kind of like what I said last week, James, if you remember. I kind of predicted a tight 2-0 result, not a comfortable 2-0 result by any means. I said at the end we'd score some sort of like breakaway last-minute goal to kind of just, put the game away when Miami's pressing for the equalizer. Something like that kind of happened, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that. More importantly, though, we got the result with only 4 substitutes, with, some weird last-minute changes. Yeah. And Charlie Dennis and JJ Williams made it on the USL Team of the Week. So, stop me if you've heard that before. Charlie Dennis on the Team of the Week. That makes it more than I can recall. He's been on there a lot and is for sure putting up an MVP candidate season. So maybe we see him in those discussions at the end of the year. But overall, James, 2-0 win. Can't complain. Plenty of opportunities. Offense was really, really clicking despite the thin roster. It's everything you wanted to see in a Rowdies performance. Grit, going away, getting the result. Plenty of reasons to, come back with a draw and be happy, but they went out and got the result, and that's what we like to see, James. 2-0, fantastic result on the road.
Yeah, I don't know what more you can kind of ask for in that sense. I think that we played well, and I think that it was obviously a deserved result and a deserved 3 points. But Carlos, let's get into it. We usually break it down with first half, second half. So I know the first 2 to 3 minutes of this game were a little bit chaotic. I think it was Mark Segbers who got a really good chance for Miami in the first 2 minutes, and then Charlie Dennis had an even better shot in that 30 seconds afterwards that hit the crossbar. But yeah, how did you see the first half go, and what did you see the Rowdies, or where did you see the Rowdies kind of taking this game?
Yeah, I wasn't particularly surprised by Miami coming out fast like that.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to get on the front foot early. Yeah, they're a team that's playing pretty well. We mentioned it more than a few times. In last week's episode, Miami is coming off of a really nice winning streak. Coming into this game. Sorry, not a winning streak, but they'd won 4 of their last 5 coming into this game. Great results, lots of goals. That being said, we shut them out. But they were feeling confident, and they knew that, Rowdies are a fantastic team. Rowdies are playing well right now, and there's plenty of challenges for the team, though. So they know that there's an opportunity to capitalize make up some ground on the table and take some points away from a team that is really good, but is not, in their best shape, I guess.
Right.
So it made sense that they would try to come out early like that. I was really impressed by how he responded. Like you said, it was Segbers that had that really nice opportunity really, really early on. Yeah, I think it seemed like Sparrow had that under control if it was on target, but still looked like a close enough call to be concerned, and kind of get everybody to tense up just a little bit. It was, like you said, just a minute later that Charlie Dennis ripped that shot out of literally nowhere. I love to see that kind of thing, by the way. Again, we haven't seen much of that from a Tampa Bay Rowdies offense, shots from outside the box. So
Right.
it's lovely to see that happen, and lovely to see it almost end up in a goal. It probably should have. I mean, it was just incredibly unlucky bounce down from the crossbar, hit the goalie, and it was Joshua Perez that tried to put that away. It looks like it got deflected by the keeper, and somehow so many deflections, and it ended up in Miami's hands there. So I kind of go through this first 3 minutes there, because again, I was impressed with how he responded. I think when Miami comes out strong like that, we've seen in the past, like, a team can get rattled pretty quickly with something like that. Miami kind of smells blood in the water, and they're going to try and keep pressing on that, that attack. It almost worked on it, and it almost worked for them. It was Michael Salazar. Again, I'm looking back at the highlights again to keep my mind fresh on this. He had a nice opportunity, but it looked like we had that lockdown all the way. It's kind of sort of half volley from the right side of the box. And I feel like that was, if I'm remembering correctly, one of their last like really clear chances. I don't know how that shot got off, by the way. Like, it was a crazy angle. But yeah, other than that, Connor Sparrow had a great game whenever he was challenged. A couple long shots. Did the smart thing, didn't try to catch it, didn't try to, do too much with it, just parried it over the bar. Nothing crazy. He had a great game. It's been good to see him kind of, stay in it when sometimes it feels like the defense hasn't really given him much to do. So it's been good to see him get some performances where he's getting involved and still fresh back there and everything. Apart from that, James, I feel like we controlled and had kind of the better opportunities in the first half. You had that Kyle Jennings shot that skied high early on. Miami came back with a couple other opportunities, but I'm just kind of like, I was trying to figure out if our front three was like Cal, JJ, and Joshua Perez, and if like LaCava was kind of in the midfield, or if Perez was more in the midfield, or if we were playing like with two strikers. Like, it was kind of a weird thing going on up there. But whatever it was, like, I liked it because we were producing a lot of offense. Maybe Miami was trying to figure out what the hell we were doing as well, because it was kind of so like sporadic. The attack was just kind of coming from all fronts, which I really, really enjoyed. Perez he didn't do too much this game, if I'm remembering, especially in this first half. Looking back, there wasn't a ton that he had to do. He almost had that goal early on. But again, he had a decent game, and was just generally impressed with how we had a lot of good attack coming from both sides of the field. Again, I really like Dayon Harris, and the speed he brings, and he's just a great dribbler. He didn't even come into the game until late in the second half, and I felt like I wasn't really thinking about him. The team was playing fantastic on all fronts. Offensively, again, they were just doing everything right. It was only a matter of time before the goal started coming. Connor Sparrow stood on his head when we had to, and eventually we found that goal with, again, I mentioned this a couple episodes ago, underrated aspect of JJ Williams' style and his play for like how big he is. He's super agile and very nimble, has a lot of finesse to his game. Now I'm moving on. I'm talking about that first goal now. 35th minute, Connor Sparrow plays a ball out of the back. It was out of a goal kick.
I thought it was almost the case that we had a goalkeeper assist. It was pretty close.
Yeah, it's like if this was like hockey, where hockey has like 2 assists, right? It would have been a goalkeeper assist.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that goal was, I just want to mention this because first of all, credit Connor Sparrow, because again, he had a great game, made a bunch of great saves, and this pass was incredible. Just kind of like a line drive right to JJ Williams, who flicks it on, does just enough with the back of his heel, running towards the ball, and flicks it away behind him. Cal Jennings making the run. JJ Williams, again, he's just been so impressive on all fronts. Like, he can play physical, he can get up, he can be big. When he needs to have finesse, and when he sees that run, the play developing, he's so smart and knows exactly what to do. Great finesse there to tap that along to Cal Jennings. And that whole play was weird because I thought the ball went in already on Cal Jennings' shot. Takes a save, bounces right along the line, and then, even if it didn't go in, JJ Williams is there. So, the type of guy that follows up the play.
Always.
Everything went well here, like on that play. Everything that kind of has been going well for the Rowdies went well on that play. Again, you had that JJ Williams goal against Tulsa where he followed the ball and found an incredible goal just because he kept following the ball. You saw this here again. If that ball didn't go in, he was there for it. But the connection between JJ and Cal Jennings that I've been wanting to see has been like really coming into fruition recently. Showed on this goal in particular. But it shows you how quickly we can develop a play. Even if some of our like more pacey counterattack players are on the bench or injured or whatever. Lovely to see that all happen. Everything went well. So I think, rambling for a bit there, that was most of the first half action. We can talk a bit more about like the tactics and, I guess why everything went well. But as far as like what happened and the bigger opportunities that we had, like it seemed like those were the main things that happened. And I just, again, want to highlight how incredible the Cal Jennings and JJ Williams connection is and how powerful it can be if they're clicking at the right time. Lovely to see. And I just hope that continues on, the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think that is one of the best developments that has come out of the past month, not only because it's working and getting us goals, but there's also the added dimension of the fact that these are 2 of 15 fit players at the moment. So, that's obviously extremely important. It's one thing if you are, we came into the season, we're missing Leo Fernandez, we're missing Lewis Hilton, and players stepped up. But, if the next guy after that goes down, then that becomes a big problem, right? Like if Jordan Doherty was to go down, if Charlie Dennis was to go down, then suddenly we lose those players' direct replacements in addition to the players themselves. So, that's obviously extremely important that the players that we have are available, and then they're doing so well on top of it. It's honestly kind of incredible to see. But
it's really impressive.
In terms of the first half, I would say for the way that we lined up, it seemed to me that it was mostly a 4-2-4. And we had Aaron Guillen taking over at the left back and Connor Antley taking over at the right. Well, taking over, that's where he kind of plays. Jake Araman was, again, unavailable. I'm not too sure, unfortunately, what the situation is there. We haven't heard back about him and, when he was back out because, I guess, kind of since he's come here, he has had some injury problems. But that was unfortunate that he was unable to be out or be there again. As you said, Jan Ekra was another one that pulled up. There's a sickness that's going around pretty much everybody that I know. So maybe it's just COVID. Maybe it's just whatever this other flu is that everybody has that I had last week. And I was blowing my nose in the middle of our recording, hopefully, with everything on mute. But I'm not entirely sure exactly when they'll be back, and that is important to us as a team to be able to succeed. But in the meantime, it was good work from everybody who was out there. Jake LaCava was playing kind of as a left winger, and he was sitting in front of Aaron Guillen, obviously. And then it started with Josh Perez, who was sitting as a right winger, pretty much in front of Connor Antley. And then obviously with Charlie Dennis dropping deeper to sit alongside Jordan Doherty. That's not what you'd like to see because, as we've stated before, he's extremely important when he gets forward. He's extremely influential, but it doesn't matter at the moment. You just need somebody to fill that spot. And if you can, make it work, then that's fantastic. And the 2 players up top, they helped make it work. I think that honestly, this game, a lot of it came down to the Rowdies playing within the conditions that they had. So the conditions it's extreme heat in Miami because it's very hot in Tampa Bay area. We're dealing with that every day. They go down and it's, a couple more degrees in terms of the heat and a couple more percentages in terms of the humidity. So, that doesn't make a ton of difference, but when you're playing this game that requires you to run for 45 minutes plus, yeah, that does, make a pretty big difference overall to your ability to last. And that's kind of, the Rowdies were just playing within themselves. They knew that they had the quality to last this one out as long as they maintained their shape and everything, and they didn't give anything up to Miami. They almost did, but
Yeah.
yeah, they were lucky and good. You're as good as the luck you create, I guess. But yeah, they were doing very well to just play within themselves. And it was really funny, the goal that was scored. There was a chance right before it that Miami had to actually go up themselves, and I think it was Joaquin Rivas who had a hat trick the week before. He had the
Yeah, you're
chance
right. Yeah.
that Connor Sparrow saved, and if I'm not mistaken, it turned into either a goal kick. I don't remember exactly how the play started, but anyway, that was a very good play from Miami to set Joaquin Rivas up, and Rivas then had his shot saved. They go straight to a water break, which is what they actually needed to do roughly around the 30th minute. They couldn't because there were no stoppages in the play, and so they got to that play in between Rivas and then the goal kick that we took, and they took the water break there. I think coming back from that, Miami just, whatever reason, they kind of switched off for a second and a half. It
Yeah,
was
it's like they were
just
still
long
getting
enough.
set up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was just long enough for the play that you had already talked about, with Sparrow. He took the long kick, and then there was the perfect little flick on to Cal Jennings. And it was great to see that the Rowdies were able. I feel like it's happened to us a number of times where there's a set piece or there's a play off of a break. There's just something where we lose concentration a little bit and we give up a goal. I think it was wonderful that the Rowdies were able to take advantage of a situation like that this time. Miami was not marking up the way that they needed to, not only in the midfield, but obviously up top as well, because Cal Jennings was able to take the ball, run at net. And yeah, I think that all helped us out, obviously, over the course of the game. But it was just again, that little bit of focus where the Rowdies knew what they needed to do. And
Yeah.
they went out there and they didn't get sidetracked. They didn't get, focused on anything else. It was just making sure they were dialed in when they needed to be.
Yep. And Sparrow, standing on his head when he needs to. Again, that save that I totally forgot to mention on Joaquin Rivas, like you said, literally just a few minutes. I think it was, yeah, it might have been like a couple plays before. It was like 2 minutes, 3 minutes before that.
Yeah.
That Cal Jennings goal. By the way, yeah, officially Cal Jennings goal. So the ball did cross on Cal Jennings' shot. In case anybody was still confused about that. So it was a combination of stuff that made everything go well in this first half. And Miami, again, they were playing really well coming into this game. Offensively created a ton of opportunities coming into this game. So I wasn't like too surprised to see them create dangerous opportunities. I was a bit like more tense than I was hoping to be because the back line, the back line did seem to be a little slow to a couple opportunities Miami had. It seemed like they were really prone to giving up some space on those deep runs for Miami, which isn't, I guess, too new. Like we've seen that in the past, like teams obviously making a couple good successful runs behind our back line, but
yeah, they did not space themselves out well. When I think Rivas started, he was marked by Jordan Doherty on the chance that he almost scored, but he got past Lasso because Lasso was already marking somebody, and then nobody filled in there.
Yeah, so a couple of times like that, I mean, you'll see. It didn't lead to a goal, but very easily could have. Connor Sparrow again made a great save. Rivas kind of just threw the ball at the net, kind of ended up shooting it right at Sparrow. Sparrow with one hand was able to just push it away. So again, that's all to say, like, if he didn't make that save, then the goal that we scored just a couple minutes later wouldn't really have meant as much. Even if we did score that goal, right? Like all these like plays kind of working in tandem, eventually leading to our goal, totally affects how the dynamic of the game going to halftime. I guess like it wasn't too uneven in that first half. I think we had better chances overall. But at the same time, Miami had a couple, really good looking opportunities, or at least one really, really good looking opportunity, and a couple that very likely or very easily could have ended up in the goal had we not had Connor Sparrow in goal. But if you're on the field, if you're a fan of either team, and you go into the first half and you're up 1-0 or down 1-0, and it doesn't really matter. All the momentum is clearly with the Rowdies going into halftime. No matter how well Miami played, and I think they played pretty well in that first half. The Sparrow saves, the Cal Jennings incredible play, great flick on from JJ Williams. It's a perfect half at the end of the day, because we're winning. And that's all you really need to do. You need to score one more goal than the other team. So it was good to have that goal going into halftime. And it felt like we had all the momentum. That being said, it wasn't like particularly comfortable yet. Miami was playing pretty well, and we'll talk about the second half in a second. But that's all to say, I think the first half went generally about as well as it could have gone, especially given the circumstances with the lack of the depth and the kind of weird formation in the midfield and the attacking part of the field that kind of had to adapt to because of these weird injuries. Presumably Jan Ecker is back next week, right? If it's really just
crossing my fingers.
Yeah, some sort of illness he picked up. So hopefully, we can kind of revert back to what we've been working with and what has been working. But I guess this gives me some confidence, knowing that we can play a good full 90 even with this roster, and how thin it is. But that being said, certainly not sustainable. So hopefully we can get these players back, and get back to the comfort of at least half full bench. 4 substitutes is not healthy. If we can get a couple more guys back, really, really does change the dynamic of how the game feels. You can put out a lineup that's like normal and not a 4-2-4. So again, that's all to say. Really pleased with that half despite everything, and you can't really ask for much more.
Yep. No, I think that you're right. Let's move into the second half here. And I think it started relatively the same. We were trying to line up and keep everything kind of close, just as we were in the first half, play within ourselves and make sure that we don't overextend either, because if anybody overextends anything, then we barely have the subs to keep up. But yeah, Dayon Harris came on in just about the 60th minute. I have here Ariel Martinez in the 76th. We got our goal in the 87th, and then the last substitute was Lucky Nkwasana coming on in stoppage time, actually. So we made the 3 substitutions that we could make, but along the way, it seemed like, the Rowdies were just, again, they were just trying to make sure that they kept themselves kind of square up to where Miami were going to be, obviously. Didn't want them to create too many chances. I think that Miami had 2 big chances on the night. It was listed. They missed them both, obviously. No, I'm sorry. 1 big chance on the night, but they missed that one. So, yeah, it was, I think that it was just well done in terms of, again, maintaining ourselves with we let them have the possession. Actually, the statistics say 62% to 38%, but it was our ability to kind of withhold and take on that pressure, but not really do anything with it. I thought that, and I said this in the pregame when I was talking to Eureka, I thought that, if we went up early, we would kind of allow them to attack us and then try and score off of the counter like we would usually do in a situation where there are all of these factors going against us, including injuries, including terrible heat, including a terrible pitch, all of that stuff. But ultimately, we kind of just sat back and didn't really worry too much about the attack. We obviously got there and had our chances too. But yeah, especially in the second half, I didn't think that it was such a big deal for us. And I didn't think that we were too worried about our ability to get forward a lot less anyway than we were about stopping the Miami and stuffing them every time that they tried to come at us. So we did fail one moment in, I think, like the 78th minute, 79th, something like that. It was very close to the goal that we scored. It was actually pretty similar, where it was a ball that went over, I think, to the left side, and I forget exactly who it was that got the cross in, but it came into and totally unmarked Ben Mines at the back post. And he got off a very good shot that Forrest Lasso was on the line to save. So, very good work from Forrest Lasso to get there. But yeah, I think that was their like pretty big chance in the second half that I can
Yeah.
remember. If there are any others, obviously remind us. But
No,
it
no,
seemed to me,
they had, remember, like, sorry not to interrupt you, but this was something I was going to say too. They came out really, really strong just 3 minutes into the half. I don't know if you remember that kind of like flurry of shots that they had right out of the locker room.
yep, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, and I remember this because I was at this point, I was on my way to a $10 open bar in downtown DC, and me and my friends were crowded into this Uber, and I pulled out my phone and I'm like, all right, we're watching the Rowdies game on the way to this. So I'm watching it on my phone, and as soon as I pull it out, I thought Miami scored, because in the 48th minute, here they come, just pop, pop, pop. It was like 3 shots back to back to back, and we had really, really sloppy defending, but we did just enough every single time to not let that ball in. Again, Connor Sparrow had the perfect angle, but if you look back on it, we had like 4 defenders clumped up just chasing the ball. Everybody was just following the ball. It looked like I was watching like, U6 soccer for a second type thing. It was incredible. I don't know how Miami didn't score on that opportunity, because they literally, again, had like a flurry of 3 or 4 shots that all looked like they could have gone in. But again, backline doing just enough to cut off any clear angle, and Connor Sparrow kind of working with that backline to cut off any other potential angle to the goal. It made it really challenging for Miami it made it really challenging for Miami to actually put that ball in the back of the net. But again, really impressed with the back line being able to recover that quickly, because there was a couple of really good looks with Rivas in particular on the wing, who had a lot of space and a lot of time. And I think had he been, I guess, a bit more confident in his right foot, he might have been able to put that ball away at least twice in those in that flurry of shots. But looked like he was kind of relying on his left foot to try and find a near post angle, but Connor Sparrow was there for that. So not to cut you off, but I was like, Miami, like really early on, these were the chances that I remembered, and I was practically expecting them to put one of those shots away, but did everything well there. And then there was that big gap between that chance and the chance you're referring to. That would have been another clear goal had Forrest Lasso not been back there. It was actually funny because I think on the broadcast, I don't know if you heard it, but there's like one of the Miami players got a hot mic, and he's cussing out everybody and everyone. He's just pissed off at the world. So that was pretty funny to hear. But yeah, those two kind of like windows of opportunity, I think against a more lucky team or maybe a slightly better team, probably should have put at least one of those away. So I think, again, like you said, I think the luck carried us a little bit in those situations, but you're not lucky without, your team playing well either.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm glad you pointed that out, because I had forgotten that one in thinking about the second half. I was going straight to our goal and where that was, but yeah, no, it was a little bit of silly defending, I guess, in the end, but it was effective enough, and that's all you can ask for. The second big chance, though, the Ben Mines one came. It was kind of similar, not exactly, but it was close to the timing from our goal in the first half to the chance that came right before it for the Miami. Yeah, I'm glad that obviously Forrest Lasso was there to clear it off the line, but it was just, it was somebody losing their man again on the back post there. I think that we had kind of changed up our position a little bit with the substitutions that have been made at that point. Dayon Harris was on the right side, and Ariel Martinez was already in by then. But yeah, we were playing a little bit differently, where he was dropping in deeper, but also, there were plenty of times I saw that JJ Williams would drop in deeper just to help out. Kind of actually as a more midfield role. But
Yeah.
yeah, Dayon Harris there on the right, and it was interesting because we moved to 3 at the back when we had the ball. So that was Connor Antley. No, excuse me. It was Aaron Guillen, Forrest Lasso, and Freddie Kleeman. They were the ones who were the 3 at the back. But then when we were without the ball, we always had 5 at the back, because Connor Antley would step back, and then it was either Jake LaCava or Dayon Harris who would slide back and kind of make it 5. It was almost 6 at times, because it just seemed like, we were like, got to hold on at all hopes, got to hold on no matter what. We got to get these 3 points and just get out of here. And, that's obviously how you win a game. So
Yeah.
it was good enough in both those instances, I guess. But it was kind of a game of hanging on a little bit and, hold on hope for your ability to just get to the 90 minutes and wait for the referee to blow the whistle. Luckily, though, a little bit after that change from Ben Mines, we got the big clearance over from one side to the next. Jake Lakava goes up there, and this is what I did want to hit on with that goal was, he obviously was tripped in the box and it was a penalty, but I kind of wish the referee had given it just a second more and given it to Jordan Doherty. Other than that, that was the most analysis that I had written up for this one was just I wish that he had been able to put that in the net and it stood and it was his goal.
What a shot, by the way.
It was.
Like, it was so perfectly placed. And for a second, I thought like the whistle had been blown long enough for the keeper to not care anymore. Like, he already shut off. But oh my goodness, like he was still in the play. Like, the keeper was still active and obviously trying to play to the whistle. And the whistle blew like as Doherty took the shot. So if there's not really an excuse there to be like, oh, like the keeper shut off or the defender stopped playing. Like, everybody was still active in the play. And I mean, honestly, like if I'm the ref, you probably make that call right there and then. To be honest, like I can't even really be too mad at the ref, because he played out a couple extra seconds than I think a normal ref would have when it's that clear. It's a penalty. But man, like what a shot from Doherty! I've been saying like every week, the Doherty goal's coming. Like it's gonna come. Like he's gonna rip a shot like that. I was so sad it didn't come this week. But again, I'm really happy with the kind of guy we have taking our penalties and Charlie Dennis. Charlie Dennis has been, I don't know, I don't want to jinx anything, but I think he has scored all the penalties he's taken this year. I can't recall one that he's missed, but now that I said that, he's probably going to miss one, which is unfortunate. So don't be mad at me if that happens. So I'm confident in his ability to take those. Unfortunate for Jordan Doherty, who ripped an absolute banger of a goal. I think overall we did just enough to get out of here with a result. It was, like I said, a tight 2-0 result, a nervy 2-0 result, by no means a comfortable 2-0 result. So really happy with everything, how it all played out, especially given the circumstances. I was so scared when I saw that opportunity in the 78th minute. There was no reason that the whole play should have happened at all, honestly. I don't know why somebody was so open in the box and why we only had 2 defenders in there when there was 3 Miami attackers in there. Don't really know what Kleeman was doing so far out of his usual area.
Right.
That's kind of why you have an Antley out there in your midfield. But I don't know. Maybe that was just kind of the tactic we were running with at the moment. Like you said, there was kind of a bunch of weird substitutions. Not weird substitutions, but we had to adjust with everything going on.
Yeah.
And maybe something got lost in communication there, but it doesn't matter. We have this gigantic man in Forrest Lasso to just sit on the line and stop any shot that comes by. So I guess we're good, and I guess it doesn't really matter. So whatever. I guess we can just keep letting him have opportunities if Forrest Lasso is going to be back there. But again, a rocket of a shot, by the way. Forrest Lasso was just so well positioned. You might say that's lucky. I say it's being in the right place at the right time.
Being very smart. Yep.
Being very smart, and knowing kind of where that shot is going to go. There's a lot that goes into that in a split second, right? I mean, you see Sparrow, you see where he is, you see where the shots generally go, and you kind of just try and put yourself in the right position. And he did just that. So overall, really, really happy with how everything went. Again, we eventually got that 2-0. That second goal, but I would have been fine with a 1-0 result too. That second goal just kind of put the nail in the coffin, and put everything away. But first half, really, really good. Second half, much more scary. Hopefully we get players back and we don't have to do this again next week.
We talked about injuries so much, it's almost boring at this point, but it's like, it's still a serious problem, obviously.
Yeah. I said this a couple of weeks ago and I still kind of mean it. If you have a Rowdies jersey, get to the Waters complex next week. They need you for training. We need bodies out there. I went over, by the way. I was there right before I came back up to DC. I passed by on a Friday before Who was that game against? The last fireworks game. I'm forgetting. Whatever. The last fireworks game. I was there that Friday, and we had a bunch of injuries, and I was, looking around, and I'm like, these are a lot of new faces. Like, did we just make a bunch of new signings? And I asked around, and I realized they're all academy kids. There was like 4 or 5 academy kids there,
Just filling in for
practicing like the
training.
team. Exactly. It was really funny. They had them doing like all of the grunt work that nobody wants to do. So they were playing like defense on, an attack of like Charlie Dennis, Jake LaCava, and JJ Williams, and these is like 17-year-old kids. And of course, they're not doing a fantastic job, but they're running up and down the field and giving it their all. So kudos to them. But I mean it when when I say we need bodies, like we just need bodies for practice. We don't even have enough people to have a full practice right now, and we're still getting the job done. And that is a testament to not only the team, but by the way, we haven't mentioned him all episodes somehow. Nicky Law, right? 40 minutes into the episode, we haven't said his name yet. There's something to what he's done, and then I can't speak to like his locker room, character or anything. I'm not there, obviously, but he's doing something right. If he's putting out just the right lineup and adjusting everything and, taking chances with a sort of 4-2-4 situation if he has to and making it happen, right? I mean, Miami's, again, not an easy team to beat. I'm not going to say they're, it's a fortress over there in Miami to play. It's not like there's a huge, like, raucous fan base that's making it hard, but they're a good team. Right. And playing away is always hard, right? So this was a really impressive game. Wasn't, without mistake or anything, but I think it was one of my favorite games so far this season just because of all the situation, the circumstances around it. It still felt just like it was just so fun to watch, really. It was really good, and we performed well, and we got the 3 points. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome, and I hope we keep this up with, like, more bodies. So, next week, hopefully we get Jan Ekram back. Hopefully a couple of those guys come back. No clue about like Jake Arman, like you said, right? Don't really know what that's about. He's just been kind of injured all season. Hopefully he comes back.
I'm waiting for the press conference after this game this weekend so we can get some information because good Lord.
Yeah. And again, maybe we see Joshua Perez take up more of a starting role if he has to. Haven't seen too much of him yet, like in terms of what he's going to bring to the table. It's early on for him. I'm not going to say like I expect a ton from him, but hopefully he brings some energy too if he has to. So I'm confident if we have Nicky Law and all these players on the team, whatever, I think we'll be all right.
Yep. Well, that's the attitude to take here. All right, Carlos, we got one more thing to do before we do our preview versus Hartford. Let's get into our man of the match here. Do you want to go first? I think you might need a water or something, but I can go first if you
go first. I muted my mic. I'm choking. I don't know what I'm coughing.
Okay. All right. So my man of the match was Connor Sparrow for this one. We don't have graphics because of Eureka driving back with the hurricane. So apologize for that, but it won't be a big deal. You'll see it on Twitter one way or another. I think that Connor Sparrow stood on his head more than once in this game. And I think that he is a big part of the reason that we got a shutout out of this and we ended up getting those 3 points. So he almost got the hockey assist. If Cal Jennings had been able to, I guess, keep, we don't have a hockey assist anyway, but I don't think that he would have got credit for it, even if that stood. Either way, great game from Connor Sparrow, and I think that he is more than deserving of the man of the match and the USL Team of the Week honor that he got for this game against the Miami.
Yep. I'm going to pick the other Team of the Weeker and Charlie Dennis to be my
Pretty
man
easy,
of the match.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, when you have 2 guys on Team of the Week, it's hard not to pick them as your man of the match. It's hard for me not to pick JJ Williams or Cal Jennings because I'm really impressed with them. I really love the kind of quality they've been bringing to the team, and obviously they impacted the game pretty substantially on this night. But Charlie Dennis, as per usual, at the center of most attacks, just really crucial in creating everything. Just again, like it seems like he doesn't make a mistake in the middle, which is so hard to do when you are pressing up at the ball, kind of in the middle of the action. There's always a defender around you. He always seems to make the right pass. Always never seems to really turn the ball over. And again, we've said this before. We needed somebody to kind of step in and fill the gigantic shoes that Leo Fernandez left when he picked up that injury against whatever team that was in the preseason that I'm still mad at. But I mean, he's doing it pretty well. Like, he's doing as much as he can, and again, he's putting up an MVP type season. If we get to the end of the year, if this is the end of the year, he's certainly in the discussion.
Yeah,
at least. So it goes without saying that Charlie Dennis has been a fantastic guy to have on the squad right now, and he's been putting up man of the match performances almost every other week. So clearly, my man of the match. Obviously, got the goal and the penalty, but I didn't even mention that when I was talking about him just now. It's everything he does on the field contributed to this 2-0 result.
Yep, absolutely.
And almost had a banger of a goal, by the way, 2 minutes in. That should have gone.
That would have been
so
nice.
Unfortunate.
That would have been nice.
Whatever, yeah.
But all right, we have beaten this game to death, and all the better for it, because we have a relatively quick, I think, preview coming up here. But before we get to that, I do want to say liking and subscribing is free. But if you think you might need some new threads to hang out for the rest of this year, there's not a lot left. Maybe you want to go to the stadium in style. Well, why don't you head to shop.rblrsports.com and check out what we've got there. There will be a link in the description for this one, and you can use a promo code if you'd like, COYR, to take 10% off your order. So please do check that out. I think that you will like some of the designs that we've got cooked up, if not all of them. And yeah, there you go. And it is right there. But yeah, if you would like to check that out, we always appreciate it. And I think, as I said, you could find something that you might even wear to a game. Now, Carlos, if you could, please get us started on this preview, and we will, I think we can get through this one relatively quickly, just based on Hartford's standings position in the table.
Yeah, we were playing USL Powerhouse, Hartford Athletic Football Club. I don't even know, did they have FC in their name? I don't know. Hartford Athletic. No, sorry. We're playing Hartford Athletic. They're not very good. That's the preview. James, what's your prediction? I'll go into it a bit more. They're better than Las Vegas slightly, and we had trouble with Las Vegas. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I guess we can't take them for granted in that way. Hopefully there's no delays in actually getting this game played. As you know, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, there was a hurricane that rolled through.
It appears we might be getting a band roughly right about now.
yeah, and we're still getting part of the outsides of this monstrous hurricane. Tons of the Tampa Bay area, especially the parts that are closer to bodies of water, have been flooded with at least a few feet of water there. Storm surge has been affecting tons of the coastal area. And as you know, if you're listening to this podcast, Al Lang Stadium is very close to the water. So
I would be shocked if there wasn't some level of flooding there.
Yeah, no, it's almost guaranteed that there's some level of flooding right now on the field. It's Wednesday night. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of delay with this game. I hope not. I mean, hopefully USL works on that pretty quickly. I'd be interested to see what happens if it does get delayed, if maybe they play out Hartford and, our next game against Hartford just gets played here. I don't really know how that would work, but yeah, just something to keep in mind on this Wednesday evening. When you hear this, it'll be Thursday. Maybe we'll know something by then. We'll have a few days to clean everything up. I say we, I mean the Rowdies crew. So kudos to those guys and gals over at the Rowdies. That being said, that was a long tangent just to say we should win this game. The Rowdies are second in the East with 47 points. We have 3 games in hand against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who are 4 points ahead of us. We're in a nice spot to try and make up ground and gain that first place spot on Pittsburgh. Hartford are last place in the Eastern Conference with 16 points from 26 games played. That means they've lost 18 games and only won 4 and tied 4 as well. Yeah, they're not very good. They've lost 4 games in a row after a home win against New Mexico in early August. They are listed as lining up with mostly 5 in the back. I wouldn't expect that to change in this particular evening. They're going to play defensive, lineup. I think they understand they're not really coming out here to try and get the 3 points. I'd be shocked if they come out like Miami did and just looking for that early goal or anything. That includes Joe Rice in net, Edgardo Rito, Modesto Mendez, Connor McGlynn, Tristan Hodge, and Kembo Kabato making up that back 5. Andre Lewis, Juan Pablo Torres, and Danny Barrera play in the midfield. Antoine Hopino, former Rowdy, Prince Sadie, and Elvis Amo have rotated up top. Yeah, and then other changes are possible. I always remember Hopino for that Eastern Conference final in Louisville. That picture of him on the field. I don't know why that meme always sticks in my head. Kyle Edwards is their top scorer with 7 goals. Sadie has 5 and Amo has 4. Hopino, Rito, and Sadie all have 3 assists. Hopino also has 3 goals. So, despite me making fun of him, he's still pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And he is a quality player with enough speed and dribbling ability to make any defense tremble if they give him enough space. Rito has 9 big chances, while Sadie has created 8. Rito also has created 32 chances overall this season, so he'll be an important player and somebody that I'm sure Nicky Law will be highlighting in the film room this week, if our film room isn't flooded.
Exactly.
Hopefully it's not. So, again, this isn't to say Hartford will lay down and let this game go. I do expect them to come out very defensive. And again, 5 in the back, I don't think that's going to change. I'm not sure that's a sort of attacking 5 in the back that sometimes you see from us. I think it's more of a defensive 5 in the back. Something to keep in mind. Again, there was a hurricane that came through this week. Knocked off a couple days of practice, I'm sure, from the Rowdies. Hopefully we're still fresh and ready to go. But overall, this is a must win, but not because it's like playoffs, but because it's a game you expect to win. And, 4 points behind Pittsburgh, 3 games in hand. I expect to have 2 games in hand and be only 1 point behind Pittsburgh if Pittsburgh doesn't play, but I'm sure they do at the end of this weekend. So that's all to say, James. I feel pretty good. I hope we have more bodies on the bench. And, I just don't see us not winning this game. I'm not trying to get, too cocky or anything. I'm just comparing our 2 situations, and I feel pretty good. I'm not going to say it's like a blowout or anything, but you give me your prediction first, and I'll tell you how I'm feeling.
Okay, yeah, we can jump right into predictions here. I am going to go with a win for the Rowdies, not Hartford, if anybody was thinking that. And I will say 3-1, 3-0. I will say 3-0 Rowdies.
Ouch. That's a tough one. If anybody's interested in Hartford's recent results, by the way, they lost 3-0 to Miami away. Or sorry, 3-0 to Miami at home. And we just beat Miami away. Not that usually, or that always translates, but hey,
we're going to hope it does.
Yeah. They did play a pretty good game against Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who obviously are in first place. That was a shootout, by the way. They lost 4-3 in Hartford. Pittsburgh ultimately got the win. But it seems like even when they're playing their best game, they're trying to rally back into it. It doesn't seem like they have the full quality to play a full 90 minutes. In this game against Pittsburgh that I'm referencing, by the way, Pittsburgh was up 3-0. And then Hartford scored goals in the 78th, 81st, and 86th minute to tie the game. So
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they have some dog in them. And then 2 minutes later, Obregon scored the game winner for Pittsburgh. Right after they let up 3 goals, Pittsburgh comes back and scores the game winner 2 minutes later. So it's a decent team. I mean, they have professional players, and they can sometimes get a good result. I mean, they beat Las Vegas by more than we beat Las Vegas in Las Vegas. So if we're talking about comparing results, they have at least one thing on us. So I don't know. I'm not. I feel like we should win. I'm going to say we win. I'm not going to say 3-0. I'm going to say it's another 2-0 win. And I think Jordan Doherty gets on the score sheet this time, for real. And then I don't know, JJ Williams scores another one with his head. So yeah, I don't know. 3-0 seems reasonable, but I feel like Hartford is just going to be sitting back so much.
Yeah,
that it's going to take a while to knock that first goal in.
You know what? That's fair. That is totally fair.
Yeah, I feel like we've had trouble in the past when a team fully just comes out and sits back on their back 5. And if that's what Hartford does, it could be a bit more challenging than just running by them and putting the ball away, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that is a good point because, they're definitely going to try and sit back on this one. Producer Eureka has given his prediction a 3-1 Rowdies win. So all of us, again, are predicting Rowdies wins. We will have a guest spot prediction on Twitter, so keep an eye out for that. I believe Eureka will be reaching out to the person who he has lined up to do that before we have the game here. But yeah, that will do it. Carlos, anything else on Hartford before we go to extra time?
One of my neighbors up here in my apartment complex where I'm at in Georgetown is a Hartford Athletic fan. One of the first people I talked to at Georgetown, actually, when I was on COVID, I reached out to him and was like, "Hey, my name's Carlos," and he was like, "Oh, my name's so and so." I was like, "Oh, I see you're a Rowdies fan. I'm a Hartford fan." I'm like, what the hell? I didn't know like that existed, But whatever. Shout out that guy. But we're gonna win, and I just don't really feel too much nerve about it, other than the external circumstances of a Category 3 hurricane that rolled through North Florida, maybe some flooding, and the whole injury thing a little scary. But
there's definitely some flooding.
yeah. So whatever. Nicky Law, I believe in him, and I believe in this very depleted roster to get the result against a bad team. If there's a time to have a depleted roster, I guess it's against Hartford. So I'm happy with the situation-ish, and I'm ready to go. And hopefully we get a couple of bodies back by the time we go to Memphis next Wednesday.
All right, there we go. There you have it, folks. Please do keep an eye out for the guest spot prediction on Twitter. Like I said, it will be there. But let's move into our extra time segment. Only one bit to talk about here, and that is, unfortunately, the San Diego Loyal. They have announced that they are ceasing operations after this season. That is obviously very unfortunate for the USL Championship and soccer fans in San Diego. There is reporting from Jeff Reuter of The Athletic that this decision follows them coming to terms with a new MLS team being lined up in San Diego, an MLS team that is joining the league for $500 million. But, we don't have any say over that. Unfortunately, it was announced that there was a problem with their stadium search. And, I'm not sure exactly how much truth there is or isn't to that. We can only go by what they tell us, obviously, and what reporting there is. Maybe there will be something out in 2 or 3 years' time. Maybe it'll take even longer than that. Either way, I did want to say, based on this, I wrote a piece about MLS and how much in a couple of ways they kind of suck. I understand that MLS is very important for the growth of soccer in this country, especially since 1995 when the league started. But they're doing stuff right now that a lot of people don't like, and that would include myself. I'm assuming, Carlos, that includes you. I'm assuming that this includes pretty much everyone who has been to a San Diego Loyal game in the time that they've existed. So we will include that piece in the link for this show. It is obviously also on Twitter and our website, all that kind of stuff. But you'll see it. Please do check it out. Let me know if you have any opinions. Obviously, I think that we could all talk back and forth about this for ages, but I tried to be as well. I started with trying to be as factual as possible, and then it got a little bit more opinionated by the time the piece ran out. But that's the way that it goes when you're writing about something like this. So anyway, I will include that link, like I said, in the show notes, and we will go from there. Carlos, you got anything else before we send these beautiful listeners on our way?
South American club soccer, Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana, still going on this week. You're into like the quarterfinal rounds, so games get really interesting. The atmospheres get really intense. Flares get thrown, punches get thrown, bodies are flying, pepper spray is thrown into the stands. It's a blast. If you're interested in raw chaos and some decent soccer, tune into Bean Sports today, tomorrow. I guess you would have heard this already. Whatever, you know what I'm saying. Check your local listings, I guess, if you have Bean Sports. Some great soccer down there, and my team from Ecuador Liga de Quito plays tomorrow. So send good vibes, James. We're up 2-1 on Sao Paulo on aggregate, but now we got to go to Brazil and hold on to that result. It's going to be tough.
All right, that is a good thing to shout out as well, but that will do it for us this week. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. You can follow us at RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, of course, and you can get at me on Twitter at RBLR James K. What about you, Carlos?
At Carlos TPA10. I realize I haven't changed my name back from Nicky Law Truther since the day he was hired. Jake, the communications guy over at the Rowdies, was telling me that every time he sees my tweets, he thinks it's Nicky Law tweeting for a second, which I understand can be mildly concerning because I tweet things that Nicky Law probably shouldn't tweet or like wouldn't tweet, which is pretty funny. So yeah, come follow me. Come learn about the world of South American soccer, Georgetown basketball. Oh, random note, by the way, Nebraska volleyball, 90,000 people will be at their game tonight, which is kind of a historic attendance record, I think, for any women's sport in the United States. It's up there with some of the biggest attendances of all time, especially for college women's athletics. It's pretty fun. So I don't know if you're interested in the world of college athletics too. That's a fun fact. And by tomorrow, when this comes out, they'll have already played it, and you'll see 90,000 people for a volleyball game, which is a random cool fact that I saw on Twitter today.
All right. Very interesting. Okay. Well, there you go, folks. Something else to tune into.
Rebranding into a volleyball
in the past,
podcast.
But, yeah. So please like and subscribe to our podcast as well. You can get the full experience on YouTube, where you can see my new hair, which I dyed ahead of my birthday here. And,
James Dalgard.
Yes, exactly. I followed in his or Ken's inspiration. It was probably Sebastian Dalgard, though. We are also on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, Apple and Google Podcasts. Everywhere that you get podcasts, we are as well. So, for another week with a win and another one hopefully coming up, come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.